The deal that I made with that president is he said, I'm only going to let you be interim. I am not going to hire you permanently because you need to get your doctorate. You can be a president someday. And I went, oh, haha, you're funny.
The following is a Big Sky Economic Development production.
It's Mars B.
And Cavo.
And this is The Vault at 201 North Broadway.
A business podcast.
Where we bring you entrepreneurs, small business owners, and community leaders of Montana.
To share their stories, expertise, industry insights, and strategies.
And we are sharing them all with you every single week.
You don't want to miss this.
Learn how to better start, manage, and grow your business.
And your leadership style.
Tangible takeaways to save you time and improve whatever it is that you're working on.
You're listening to The Vault.
Thank you to Big Sky Economic Development for supporting The Vault at 201 North Broadway. Big Sky Economic Development provides leadership and resources for business creation, expansion, retention, new business recruitment, and community development. If you are starting a business, growing or expanding your business, diversifying your customer base, or maybe you're looking for business trainings to attend to continue to learn and grow, they're excited and here to help. Even if you're thinking of relocating your company into Billings, they're a resource for you. BSED also provides resources for community development initiatives by planning, partnering, and managing projects and administering grants for redevelopment and placemaking. Their workforce development program brings together industry and education partners to anticipate and respond to community workforce needs. And they provide talent attraction and retention resources for your business to use under the community brand Better Off in Billings. BSED's Rock 31 program is focused on helping startups thrive. And in their location in downtown Billings, they have 2 floors dedicated to co-working and additional spaces throughout their building open to the community to host their meetings, events, and trainings. Visit bigskyeconomicdevelopment.org. Again, that's bigskyeconomicdevelopment.org, or follow them on Facebook and LinkedIn. Today, joining us in the vault is Chancellor Stefani Hicswa. Welcome. We're so excited to have you. And we're excited today to talk to you about authentic and intentional leadership. So welcome to the vault.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here today.
Thanks for coming on. I have to mention to everybody because they can't see you. She is wearing a yellow jacket.
You get it.
The yellow jacket.
Exactly.
That's so fun. I bet it's kind of fun. I mean, like to have the mascot and then like, I don't know, getting to dress up in the school colors. Maybe it gets old.
It is so fun. But I tell you what, I'm watching the women's basketball this season and LSU purple. I don't know if I could pull off purple, but blue and yellow works.
With the pink feathers, I saw that on one of her, the coaches, like, blazer jacket. She must have had it like custom. It was like the feathers from New Orleans. You know what I mean? Like,
wow.
Yeah. It was loud. Her outfits are loud.
It's a lot. Yeah. It's a lot. And as Chancellor, I probably shouldn't be a lot, but I'm kind of over the suits and, it feels so stuffy anymore. Yeah.
I think that's what I love about you is you're so approachable. You're very level-headed, and I'm not within your school, but I would say that would be something that I'd really like is that I have a very approachable person I can come to.
Good. Thank you for that feedback. I hope I'm approachable, and I want to be, and I like to interact with students as much as possible, and that's part of that authentic leadership. This job is too hard to be somebody I'm not or somebody I'm pretending to be. And so I want to be 100% authentically me. And for women, clothes really make a statement, but you don't want to be uncomfortable. So I've had to find that happy medium where I'm not like the LSU women's basketball coach, but also I'm not in just shorts and a sweatshirt coming to work, because there's that level of respect that I have to command when I have to make tough decisions. But you're right. I really do want to be approachable and for people to feel like they can come up and talk to me.
So let's dive into a little bit so that our audience can get to know you and tell us a little bit about your background, maybe where you grew up, because you're Chancellor of MSU which is a very That's a big, important, and public role here in our community and here in our state and region. But what was younger Stefani? What was she doing that got her to where she is today?
Well, thank you for asking that question, because it is a story that I like to tell for our students to see that, yeah, just because I have this job, I wasn't coming from a privileged background and wasn't planning on being a college chancellor. Nobody grows up and says, oh, I want to be a college chancellor. What even is that? When I got this
I
job,
got my first pantsuit at 5 and I knew
that I wanted it. Well, and even my mom, when I told her about this job, she said, what's a chancellor? So the younger Stefani, I grew up on a farm in Dillon, and so it's so fun to get to live and work in my home state, and to be in the 406 feels really like a privilege, and to be challenged professionally and yet get to be home. I grew up in a family where my dad worked on this farm as a farm laborer, and my mom was a stay-at-home mom, and it was really a great opportunity. And I was a pretty good student. I liked school a lot and enjoyed every fall getting my pencils ready and my notebooks ready. So this job is perfect for me, because I get to do that every fall for my whole life.
What a fun experience that was as a kid, honestly.
Right?
Like back to school shopping, especially in smaller towns where you like had to go out of town. It was a whole day.
We were Lisa Frank kids. Were you a Lisa Frank kid?
I don't know what that means.
Oh my gosh. Do you know Lisa Frank?
I do.
Yes.
I do.
So we were Lisa Frank kids.
Okay. So I'll look it up later.
Yes.
So I have really fond memories of being a student and loving to learn. And I had to work a lot as a kid. My dad was a farm laborer on this ranch, and we helped him. And so my first job was at 9, and I credit my hard work ethic to my farming background. I was pulling sunflowers out of the wheat fields, just walking acres and acres.
It's like getting the rocks, like picking rocks, picking sunflowers out.
Yeah, and I picked rocks and all of those kind of jobs until I was baling hay and some of those responsibilities. And actually, that's part of my story. I remember baling hay for the third crop in September, studying for a history test on the tractor, thinking, I need to go to college. I need to go to college. I don't want to do this the rest of my life. And then I started calculating, okay, what do I need on this test to get an A? And what would that do with my grade?
This is not my future life.
All of those kind of things. And so I was in honors classes and had some really good classmates and was learning a lot. And they were all talking about going to college. And because neither of my parents went to college and nobody that I knew went to college, I didn't really know how to go about that whole process. And so I went and talked to the high school counselor. And he said to me, you can afford college, so you probably should join the military. I went, what? And the military is a great option for some people, but that just didn't quite fit me. And so I knew I needed to figure out how to afford to pay college tuition. And so I knew that by being in leadership roles and being in clubs, I could get scholarships. So I started getting involved, and I started running for offices so that I could build my resume so I'd be competitive for scholarships. Well, then the leadership bug hit me.
Dang it.
And the rest
I hear that itch never goes away.
It really doesn't. I mean, it's something that you don't really know that you have until you get it, and then it really doesn't ever go away. But it was tough to be the first in my family to ever have ventured to go to college. I didn't know what a syllabus was. I didn't know how to do my schedule. I didn't know how to navigate. And so it was really, really tough. But I went to the University of Montana, and I majored in communication. And I came home at Christmas, and my dad said, What are you doing? And he didn't know what a major was. And I said, well, I'm studying communication. And he says, Steph, you already know how to talk, and you talk a lot. And really, so he didn't understand why I was spending all this money. So I had to explain and help my parents understand how all of that worked. And then he was in an accident during that time in my early college years and was really struggling with pain. So the farm accident caused some disabilities for him. And I really felt like I should go back home and work because it was tough to afford to go to college anyway, and I was working some, but I wasn't able to contribute to my family if I'd been working full time. And that's something that I've realized over the years, that so many of our students at MSUB are pulled with that need to help their family and the need to go to college. But now, after receiving a college degree, I'm so glad I knew somehow that I would be better off than working in a minimum wage job in Dillon with no education. So I'm really, really glad that I did that and persevered. That junior year of college is hard for a lot of people because it's really a tipping point. And I was able to graduate. I did undergraduate research as an senior in college, and I didn't know what undergraduate research was. And now I'm promoting that as the Chancellor of MSUB to give students opportunities to do research. And my very, very first job out of college was an academic advisor in Kalispell.
Oh, wow.
And it was such a great opportunity to get to work with students and to help them figure out their schedules and figure out how to graduate on time and know that you need to plan ahead so far. And that was something that I didn't really realize would be part of my career path. So my undergraduate research was in what was called attrition then, which is dropping out. Now we call it retention, which is staying. And I have really stayed a path on my career to focus on making sure to help students be able to get from semester to semester and graduate on time. As I finished my master's degree, because I'd already done research, so my master's degree wasn't very scary, and it was a way for, quite frankly, to make more money. I mean, intrinsically, there were lots of value to it, but I was making...
That's a black and white, yeah.
Right? And so many people look at that as, what do we need? I was making $10 an hour as an advisor. And my brother, who didn't go to college, was making way more money than me. And so again, that pull, it's like, this is tough. But I ended up getting my master's degree, and that allowed me to get a better job. And I ran a program called Upward Bound, which a lot of people in this area are familiar with. And then I had an opportunity. I was so bold, and I didn't even know.
And were you all at you were at U of M during this?
So I was at U of M for my undergraduate degree, and then I worked in Kalispell, and my master's degree is from Montana State University.
So spreading the love a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. So a lot of people are like, the family divided cats and grizz all in one person. And so I did my master's degree in the summer. I had a 9-month contract as an academic advisor, and I did that degree in the summer. And we didn't have online classes then, but Bozeman was offering outreach classes in Browning. And Browning wasn't that far. It was just over the mountain from Kalispell.
It's a very beautiful drive.
It's such a beautiful drive. And so I took classes over in Browning and went over Friday afternoon and spent the night, and then took classes on Saturday to be able to get it done. And then I was so bold. I went to the president's office and I'm like, I'm getting this master's degree. And I was all full of myself, getting this master's degree. And I want to be challenged a little bit more. I'm running this Upward Bound program, but, I think I can do more. So if there's anything that you need me to do. And so there was a position opening, and he said, and it was in Libby. It was the director of their branch campus in Libby. And he said, "Do you want to go to Libby?" I said, "I was hoping you would ask that because I heard that guy was leaving and I could do better than him."
The confidence. I love it.
No, I don't even know why I thought that. And I went to Libby and loved it. And so
I did better?
I don't know. I enjoyed it and did well, but I was only there for 2 years. The deal that I made with that president is he said, "I'm only going to let you be interim. I am not going to hire you permanently because you need to get your doctorate. You can be a president someday." And I went, oh, ha, you're funny. And then he gave me an opportunity to go to a workshop on leadership. And I told you, I'm this
leadership bug is there.
Leadership bug, student of leadership. And I thought, sure, he's thinking president. I'm thinking being a committee chair or Rotary Club president. So I went to this leadership workshop, and what I didn't know then is it was a preparation seminar for women wanting to be presidents. My president recommended me. I didn't know at the time that I wanted to be a college president, but they were seeing a lot of people retire in the early to mid 90s and really wanted to get more women in leadership in the future. And so I loved it. You journaled as part of it. You did team building exercises, all the stuff I'd done in high school and college. And so I just loved it. And one of the prompts that they had us write about was, could you ever see yourself as a president and why? And so I did I could do better than, some of the other people that I know. It's all relative, right? And so that was what I wrote about. And then the next day they said, okay, if you're going to be a president, where would you want to be? And I said, Miles City, Montana, or Powell, Wyoming, because those were small towns like Dillon that I knew had community colleges. So Kalispell was Flathead Valley Community College. And so those were each smaller institutions than there. And so I thought, well, maybe I could do that. 10 years later, I was president of Miles Community College.
Oh, wow.
And so that is the power of intention. And then the rest of that story is 7 years after that, I was the president of Northwest College in Powell, Wyoming. And so I really believe in the power of setting goals and the power of intention. I didn't know it then that I was setting those goals necessarily, but those prompts put it in my head. And one of the facilitators said, if not you, then who? Who are going to be the college leaders of the future? We need young leaders to look at their future and set those goals, because otherwise nobody's going to want to do these jobs. I was 37 years old when I became the president of Miles Community College, and I had a 1.5-year-old and a 2-month-old baby. So
a young family.
A young family. And so the entire
So you're
time,
really testing yourself.
it was such a challenge. And now I look back and think, oh, I was so tired during that time. But my son, who's now a senior, so he was 2 months old when I became a president, and he is graduating this spring. So the entire time he's been alive, his mom has been either president of a college or chancellor of a university. And so, that young Stefani loved school and grew up, loving to learn and to get the new pencils and the new notebooks. And then I think my high school counselor that I went to talk about college challenged me in a different way. I was really mad, but I was stubborn too. And I thought, I'll show you. And not too long ago, he saw my mom's husband in the grocery store, and he's like, how's Steph doing? And he says, well, actually, she's Chancellor of MSU. And he went, oh, he of course didn't remember the advice, but I remembered that advice, and I remembered he challenged me. And what I know now is that situation paved the path for my career, because I never wanted any other student to think that they weren't good enough, that because they didn't have the money or because their parents didn't go to college and didn't know how, that would be a barrier for anyone else. And so my whole career has been about making sure students are retained and graduate. And I'm really proud to say that after I left Miles City and Powell, Wyoming, both of those colleges had the highest graduation rates in their history.
Wow.
And so I'm hoping that will happen here. We're on the right path, and we're doing a lot of the things right and what the research shows. But that young Stefani never would have thought I would be a college president or a college chancellor, but that authenticity and wanting to lead and wanting to help people has been with me for as long as I can remember. The other thing, as part of being a kid, competitive kid that sold the most Girl Scout cookies, that sold the most World's Finest Chocolate for band, that sold the most newspaper subscriptions for drill team. And so I love fundraising. And that's a big part of my job now, not knowing that selling World's Finest Chocolates to come to Billings for state tournament for band would set up my fundraising expertise as well.
But those experiences that I think that you have from childhood, like some of them are like, I'm like, oh, we did that too. And I'm, but how they shape and give you tools you didn't even know at the time that now you look back on and you're like, that was so valuable.
Yeah. And I tell you what, the farming schedule, getting up at dawn and going to bed after dark and getting up and feeding cows in the middle of the night, not necessarily feeding cows, but I'm getting up to deal with situations or staying up late. And so calving was really good experience for the stamina that's required.
Ag kids have a grit that others do not.
I think you do develop that grit. And if you don't feed the cows, they die.
Like you have living things.
And then you can't feed your family because,
Right. And so the consequences are really dire. And so that grit, that determination that I learned early on really has stuck with me and serves me well.
So what were some of those, because you're Miles City and Powell, what were some of those like leadership moments that, because you do really lead with intention and authenticity, and I think in a session you did with our leadership team that really shone through. What were some of those things that you look back on and like, oh, that was like a defining moment for my leadership style?
So I was 37 years old when I became a president, and I had a baby that I was nursing. And so my life was just kind of wild, and I would show up to work with baby spit on my shoulders. So that took out all semblance that I'm going to dress nicely and take a briefcase to work and shine my shoes, because I just couldn't do it all. And then a woman that I worked with in Miles City said, I have clothes older than you. And so, it's like, well, she has clothes older than me. I have spit on my clothes. I have dog slobber on my pants. It took all of that, any air that I thought I would be coming in, away. But the other thing that was really great is Miles City is an amazing community. And even though Billings is bigger, Billings is similar that way. People are authentic and they're just who they are. And you can't pretend or suck up to people because they can totally see through it. So I was a young mom in this job, getting to know donors at Miles Community College who were farmers, and that bought me, my kids would say it's street cred, bought me field cred, I guess, with them, and they were just normal people. So then I just knew I could be my normal self, and I didn't have time to make up a persona. So what they saw is what they got, and they didn't know some days. One of my staff members said, okay, Stephanie, I get it that you wake up in the morning and you're excited about what we're doing and you send emails. Please don't. Just wait until you can think them through. It's like I can't think them through until I send them to
And
you.
then I'll think them.
And then I sit there and I go, ooh, I should have added that, or I should have changed that. Or
And then it gets you thinking and it works out better altogether. So I just really started out that position kind of raw and tired with a new baby. And I didn't have any assumptions of what it should be. And so it carried through to Miles City. And then when I moved to Powell is so similar. And I was nervous actually coming to Billings and a university. I came from a community college and from Dillon. And I thought, oh no, I'm going to have to step up my game a little bit going to MSU Billings and living in Billings. But I quickly learned that people in Billings are so real and so good. And I knew so many people here. Steve Arviskow was somebody that I met early on back in the days when Max Baucus was doing his economic summit. Steve was really involved in that. And so I got to know him. So I had a built-in friend, professional friend here. And it turns out I have so many friends from grade school. I have friends from grade school who are here. I have friends from high school and friends from college who live here, and we try to get together, and it's so much fun.
That's fun.
The Billings Gazette reporter from when I was in Miles City, and I talked the other day, so I got to know her early in my career, and it's just fun, the connections that you make. And I think, Marcel, to answer more of your question, that authenticity, when you're authentic, people are able to develop those relationships, and then they become lifelong relationships, and it's just so much fun. And even since I've moved to Billings, I've met people. Julie Seedhouse is one of them, who's become
she's a sweetheart,
a dear friend, and I met her because she was an alumni, and she was really good to help me transition when I moved to Billings. And so those kind of friendships that I've built are near and dear to my heart now. So that's the authentic part, and that goes with intention. So I'm pretty goal-driven and focused, but the example that I told you from that leadership seminar I talked about really opened my eyes to the power of intention. And I believe there is something really, really deep down about setting intentions, because you set up expectations and then you work toward that. It's not just like an idea. A thought becomes an idea, which becomes a plan, which becomes a goal, which you break it down into tactics of what you're going to do to get there. And that's exactly what we're doing now with our retention plan at the university. And it's changing students' lives. They are able to be retained and stay in school and have barriers removed so that we can figure out how to make them do that. And that's all about intentionality. And I talk to them at the beginning of the year when they come in and make them set the intention that they're going to walk across the stage and shake my hand in 4 years or 2 years for City College students. And they set that goal right there on the first day.
Which is so exciting. And I think just intentionality with your leadership at MSUB, because it went through, different chancellors, and there just wasn't stability there or a face and a strong brand. And I think you have done such a great job, even with little things, which I think little things matter so much to really help the bigger things. But even your logo, switching the fonts and modernizing it a little bit. And you are really the public face of MSUB. And I think you bring so much credibility and excitement back to the institution that it just didn't have as much prior to you being here.
Well, thank you so much. That is such a nice compliment. I am actually the longest sitting chancellor since Ron Sexton retired in, I think, 2013.
Wow.
And so you make a really good point about stability, because I am that face, and I realize that even when I'm being silly.
Hey, people relate to silly.
Right. Right. Well, and I'm human. I just am who I am. But I know I am the face. But the longer I'm here, the more people who get to know me and get to hear about the university. When the other chancellors' tenures, for various reasons, were so short, not as many people had the opportunity to get to know them and to get to know who they are. And I've been really intentional about being visible in the community, being open to talk to people about what's going on at MSUB. And it's so easy to just gush. And thank you for the compliments about the brand. But really, our faculty and staff are the brand. And you can make the font look like the quality that what we have in the institution. But I tell you what, our faculty are so amazing, and students have such a great opportunity to get to learn from them. And so that's what I want to tell people when I'm out in the community. I want to share all those great things. And so if the logo and the branding and the way we talk about the university helps convey that, then we're doing what we're supposed to do.
Yeah,
absolutely.
You talk a lot about you have family, you had young kids at a time, and you were navigating all of that. How did you set your boundaries and balance your career pressures?
Oh, I didn't. Not at all. Not at all. I think it's not about work-life balance. You hear a lot of people talk about work-life balance. I really think it's about work-life integration. You just integrate it in what you do, and that's how you do it on the farm. it's not like you get up and go to work in the morning and you work from 8 to 5 on the farm. It's just part of who you are and what you do. So my kids were at basketball games with me. Daycare canceled one day and they had to come with me to work. And amazingly, ironically, we had a meeting about daycare on campus that day, and that wasn't planned at all. But those kind of situations make me a much better supervisor now when one of my staff members, something happens at daycare and she has to go pick them up, or another person, his kids were sick and he needed to stay home. And so I know all those experiences and I remember all of those things. And so that helps me to be a better supervisor, I think. But also it helps you be human when you come to work with dog slobber and
that happens to me more often than I'd like to admit.
Right. I know. And my husband took a picture of me the other day cleaning a toilet, and it's like, somehow I didn't picture myself cleaning a toilet when I pictured myself as the chancellor, but you still have to
person.
Do that. And you still have to make time for friends. One of my very, very closest dear friends from grade school lives here, and we try to have lunch once a week. It doesn't always happen, but we really try because that's how you kind of get your bucket filled.
Yeah.
The other piece of it really is being with students. Not only do I remember them and think about them always in the decisions that we make by being around them and hearing their stories, it just helps make the job so much fun and remember the purpose. But also, you asked about boundaries. I have been really, really intentional, Marcel, to use that word again, about making sure to attend my kids' sporting events, to take off days at work when they have days off at work or days off of school. My son recently had a scheduled break from school, and I scheduled that break to be no appointments for me. And we ended up going skiing that day.
Fun.
But that's important, to make those things important. And my son, who's a senior, just texted me today to let me know the date of the senior award ceremony, and I will change my schedule to make that happen. So that's really important. Spending time with family, making time for family dinner. Up until high school, because my boys don't want to eat breakfast anymore, but up until they were in high school, I made breakfast for them every morning.
Wow.
And we eat dinner at the dinner table as many nights as possible. And that's intentional as well. Whenever we are all home together, or we wait until somebody gets home so that we can sit down and have dinner at the table. And so I spend time on the weekends making sourdough bread and making casseroles and putting things in the freezer. And my husband is a good cook too, but so that we have those meals ready. And that's kind of my love language, is to cook for them.
For food. I love
That's my
that.
love language
We
too.
love food.
I'll cook for you. I'll make some sourdough bread.
I'll bring
for you
dessert.
both. Perfect. But I think that's important. Homemade food is important. Growing up on the farm, we always had a garden, and my mom canned, and I think we're all healthier as a result. And so I hope my kids have learned good habits. My oldest son is away at college at Laramie at the University of Wyoming, and he has really had to be intentional himself about eating, because it's easy to eat at Chick-fil-A every day. They just got a new Chick-fil-A.
Oh, wow. So I'm sure that's like packed with college students.
Right. But he knows that that's not the best choice. And so he said, I'm eating spinach, Mom.
Popeye would agree.
Exactly. And the other thing I do kind of, I don't know if it's balance or it's time management, is that I don't fold socks and underwear. I don't iron the backs of my shirts. Nobody sees the backs of my shirts because I'm wearing jackets all the time.
I love that. That is so great.
I've simplified my wardrobe, so you all can see what I'm wearing. The audience who is listening cannot, but I have on a yellow jacket that was purchased with a yellow shirt, and they are hung in the closet together with the pair of blue navy pants that I have on, all in the same hanger.
Which
So
I think that's great.
Well, then I don't have to make decisions.
Yeah, to be like, I'll pair these.
Yeah, because I can't do that. And wearing suits works. It's like Garanimals for adults. The pants and the jackets are the same.
Well, I think I love that. And I think that like busy people, like it is simplifying your wardrobe and just making those little things. I am working on simplifying it, but like I'll even outline my outfits for the full week, like on Sunday, just so that I can grab and I don't waste time in the morning trying to figure out what I'm going to wear.
See, I'm still in that phase where I'm like, I don't know what I want to wear today. And so if I would have done that, I'd still probably be indecisive.
And it's like getting rid of the stuff that's not comfortable, like you said, because I'm like, not wearing that.
Not wearing that. Yeah. And I've just got to the point where I have to know what I like and what goes together and what I'm comfortable in. So then I don't have those days where I wake up and go, I don't want to wear that.
Yeah.
Because I don't have time.
Yeah.
So I just have to decide. And I know this jacket and this shirt and pants are comfortable and fit. And it's a yellow jacket.
And it's a yellow jacket for the yellow jacket.
I love it.
Exactly.
Something you've said before when we've had a different conversation, you've talked about, I mean, and it's bringing it back to the family conversation a little bit, but I just think it's so impactful and powerful of your sons grew up with you being a president, which is a very big and public role, but they also grew up with you hosting and out in public doing these things. So I think, and they're probably, as they're getting older, if they didn't when they were younger, but what a value to be able to, as a young kid, just grow up in those environments. So now as they're entering into college and adulthood and their careers, that they're like a step ahead a little bit because they have some of these etiquette and just, you know, soft skill things that were built into their life since they were little.
Yeah, they know how to work a room. When they were little, we would have these events at our house. And a lot of times it would be donors or coming. Students are easy because they love little kids and we'll play with them and stuff. But there would be donors and they would be all excited. Can I answer the door? And they would take people's coats and hang them up and they would shake their hands and introduce themselves. But one really funny story is, so they ate at a lot of these events too. And when they were early teenagers eat a lot. We had a buffet at the house, but it was more hors d'oeuvres, and some were hot hors d'oeuvres and some were cold, but they've been eating this kind of food their whole lives. So they know what they're doing, but they also know it's dinner, that they're not getting dinner.
This is it.
And so
instead of 2 shrimps, they're taking 6.
well, no, because they know how that works, because it's an hors d'oeuvre party.
Yeah.
So, but they also know that there's leftovers. So one time they had their plates and they were putting food on their plates, and the caterer went up and slapped their hands and told them no. And they turned to her confused. And so they came and they're like, Mom, she won't let us eat. I'm like, what do you mean she won't let you eat? And so I went over and I said, this is dinner for them. She's like, they're teenagers and I only made enough food for, and you know how caterers.
Oh, yeah.
It's 2 shrimp, not 6. And I said, they've been doing this their whole lives. They will be fine. But then the funny part of the story is the same person was catering a fundraiser dinner for Pheasants Forever, Ducks Unlimited, or Elk Foundation, or something like that my husband and 2 boys went to. And so it was steak and potatoes and bread and all those things.
It's like, eat more.
And so she was catering and they went in the line and they said, is it okay if we eat tonight? They were so bad. They were so bad. But they've gotten really good at it. To your point, they know how to have those side conversations. We've taught them how to shake people's hands, and they're not intimidated by donors or adults, and so they're really funny with other adults now, and they form relationships really well, and it's fun to see them now that they're 18 and 19 be able to navigate that world, and I really enjoy watching them grow up. Recently, we had a function here at the Chancellor's residence, and they got to meet Julie Seedhouse, which was one of the people that were there. And I didn't know, now that they're older teenagers, if they would want to do it. And so I said, you don't have to answer the door and take coats anymore. They were over that years ago. But I said, please come down from your room and just introduce yourself and meet everybody. And they were there for the whole party. They loved it.
They loved it.
They got to know one of our faculty members is Matt Queen. I don't know if you know Matt, but he's a chemistry instructor and he is just dynamic and amazing. He had Grateful Dead sneakers on and he bonded with my youngest son, and my youngest son is now buying him Grateful Dead stickers at Teton Gravity Research when we're traveling. Oh, I got to get this for Matt. So those are the relationships that then those become lifelong kinds of examples that they will remember and hopefully learn and grow from.
Absolutely.
Oh, gosh, that's awesome.
So I'm going to shift gears for us a little bit.
Okay.
I want to talk about your top Gallup Clifton strength, which is input, and just share with us a little bit about what that means to you as a chancellor in your personal life and how you see yourself using that input.
So Clifton Strengths Finder, Myers-Briggs, all of those different kinds of instruments help you identify various strengths or tendencies, which is really helpful in the workplace and when you're building teams. And when I first did the Clifton Strengths Finder and found out I was input, it's like, well, of course, that's one of my strengths. As a leader, I've always been this way. I want to get input from people. I am surrounded by incredibly smart, experienced people, and they know more than me. And that's what you want to hire, right? You want to hire people that know more than you. And so I want their input. I want to get a sense of what they think the decision can be. And what we do as a result of that is create a vision for the future that is shared with all of us. And even just today, I sent an email to all employees explaining a situation that happened and asked them for feedback. I said, we're learning and we're making some changes already to some of the processes that we use, but please give me feedback, and we'll compile that feedback and take a look at that feedback, because I think we can be better when we look at all different angles. And my schedule is so booked, and sometimes I don't get out on campus as much as I would want, and so I don't want that to become blinders. Mm-hmm. And so I want that input. I want to make decisions together as much as possible. But I also realize that as a leader, the buck stops with me. Mm-hmm. And sometimes because leadership takes such courage, I have to make decisions that are unpopular sometimes. And I have to know that I'm the one with the authority. I'm the one that will get blamed if things that go wrong. And then I want to give credit to those people when things go right. And so it's really important as a leader to go in with that intentionality to get the input, but also to communicate how you're going to use it. It's input, not necessarily you get to make the decision. Consensus isn't always the best way to make a decision. It's also not always the most efficient. And sometimes I just have to say, okay, give me your input, give me your thoughts. If you think about more tonight, send me an email, let me know, but I'll make a decision by tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And sometimes when I leave the room, I don't know what that decision's going to be, and I have to incubate it a little bit. And sometimes I will call the president at MSU, who is my boss, who is wonderful. I love President Cruzado. She is just amazing and such a great example of how to be a strong woman leader in higher ed. And she gives me good counsel and allows me to, make decisions, but she always gives really good advice. And so input from all directions, input from supervisors, sometimes input from community members, and input from students and employees. We'll be doing our next strategic plan soon, and my Strengths Finder for input will come in really, really handy, because I want to get a lot of input to set a vision for the campus for the next century. We are going to have our 100th birthday in 2027. And so
that's so exciting.
We will be planning for our second century of existence. It's so exciting.
That's huge. That's like big party on campus, big things happening.
And I'll get to be the chancellor when we have that big birthday. I'm really
That's
excited.
Awesome.
What a milestone for you and the school. That's really exciting.
It's huge.
Yeah. Back to your input, strength. I think you being really genuine and authentic and really wanting the feedback helps with your credibility.
Good.
And with that, I think that builds stronger team and a stronger culture within your faculty, because they know that you're actually listening to them and that you'll take the input that they're providing and act upon it in the best way that you see fit. And just through all of the different things that, we hear in small businesses, that is one of the biggest things that your team, your employees, your faculty, they need to see credibility in you, or that's when you start to falter. So.
Well, so thank you for that nice compliment. I hope that's the case. You want to be credible as a leader, so that means that you have to be authentic. You have to tell the truth. You have to make the hard decisions. You have to give them the brutal reality. I mean, we're dealing with budgets right now, and that brutal reality is hard, but you have to have hope that there's something bigger and something better that we're all doing this for, and it's student success. And there is no better thing that we get to do than inspire those students. So I hope that that's the kind of stable, credible leadership that I give. But I also hope the same of my team, because my team are working with all of these various groups, and then their teams are working with students and doing so much. So you want that credibility at all the different areas of campus. So thank you for that. I appreciate that.
I love that.
And we want to be credible in the community too. Marcel, you were talking about the brand, which is absolutely what we want to stabilize, but we want us to be seen as a credible, rigorous institution where somebody can get a good education. And that's absolutely true. And I think so many people don't know that. What a lot of people don't know is how affordable we are too.
Mm-hmm.
So I just saw the headlines that some private colleges sticker price now for tuition and room and board is $96,000.
Wow.
And for MSUB, it's closer to $6,000.
Oh, wow.
So we're really affordable, and students are really able to get a strong, high-quality education at that affordable price without taking out a ton of loans and without working a ton, to be able to finish that degree and then get out in the workplace.
Yeah.
I don't want them there for 10 years until they can pay for it on their Walmart wages. And Walmart pays really well anymore, but I want them to get into a professional program. So healthcare, for example, is one of our most popular choices for our students, and we have several different avenues. But if they can get in and get a 2-year degree or a 4-year degree in healthcare, they can double, triple, quadruple their salary almost immediately upon graduation with that 2-year degree or that 4-year degree. But the benefits go backwards the longer they're in school. We want them in the workforce. And we want them in the workforce for economic development of our area as well. And they're so good and they're so well trained. Let's get them out and take that, great education that they learned and be able to give back to the community and the region.
Oh, gosh.
And I think, you guys do such a good job. I mean, you have so many offerings. And I think one other unique thing, there's a couple of things. I think it is easy for those people that do have to work, that you were talking about a little bit earlier, that do maybe have to work full time, just where they're at in their life, if they're going back to school. But your class setup with online availability in person makes that so accessible for students. And then also your master program. So healthcare, public relations, and I think there's a lot that I'm missing, but just having those offerings here in Billings. So really, if you're a student and you grow up in Billings, you graduate from one of the public schools or Central or one of the other ones, that you can stay here, go to school, get a great degree, and then come back into our workforce all in Billings. You don't have to
get
leave.
A great job.
Get a great well-paying job. It's affordable to live here, so it's a really nice.
Some would say You're better off in Billings.
I can hear them saying that. Yes, I can hear them saying that. And it's not just a tagline. It really is true. And because of the educational opportunities here, you're right. We have a wide variety to fit almost anything anybody wants to go into. But because of the modalities that we offer, students can actually take some classes either live some weeks and online some weeks. So we have students from Crow Agency, for example, that started at Little Bighorn College, and then they've transferred here, but they can't always be here Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 9:00 to attend class, but they could be home with their family if something comes up and attend online. And so that's called high flex. So it's not just online or it's not just live. And we have those kind of classes too. We allow students the flexibility to come and go as they need to. And that works really well for students with families or, like you said, that they need to work. And so we offer that flexibility for students to do that at the undergraduate level. And then master's programs are different depending on the different programs, but they can finish those right here in Billings. And we're a really good fit for the small towns in our region. Just like I was talking about me personally, coming from Dillon and being nervous after living in Powell and Miles City, that Billings is a big city, but it's a big city made up of people from small towns.
That's honestly, there's like, our data is that, and I can't remember the exact number, but our in-migration is from Montana residents. Like, I'm one of those. Like, I'm from rural Montana, and I think, like, I see a ton of people I played sports against. Like, we all either went to Rocky or MSUB, and I think what's great about both institutions of they're smaller, they're accessible, they're not like the huge, overwhelming like class sizes. Like, You get to know your professors. They know your name. They know if you're not in class and why, because they care, and they care about you finishing your education.
Exactly. They know your name and they notice if you're missing. And that's important when you're from a small town. And some people I know come to Billings so that they won't be recognized.
Sorry, I hate to tell you, you'll be recognized.
I know, totally. But many of our students are from Roundup and Circle and Baker and Shepherd and all those little towns near us, because we're all from there. And I think that's what makes Billings so easy to come to. So not just MSU Billings, but Billings as a community for our students, is that they really feel welcome, and it's that small town feel with restaurants. And stoplights.
And stoplights. And we have a Chick-fil-A.
An airport, Chick-fil-A.
And an airport, exactly.
You know, it's funny growing up, back to the food thing, it's like not a relevant thing, but I don't really ever eat, because we didn't grow up eating out. Like, you did grow up around the table, home cooked meals. So even now living here, eating out is like, especially if it's going to happen, it's going to be like a nice restaurant because it's like a treat, right? Where I'm like, well, I live here now, I could do this whenever, but I still have that like mindset of like, I'm not going to fast food. Like, there's a no for me on that. But like, if we're going out, it's like a special thing, which I think is still like how it was.
Well, because you would go to town as a kid for that special treat.
Exactly.
I am so that way. It is so funny. I got some feedback recently that I needed to eat in the cafeteria more, the dining hall, to be around students. And I love to do that. But I bring my lunch and eat what I cooked, because you're just supposed to do that. It's a treat to go to the cafeteria. So a lot of times I'll go on special nights when they're having steak or sushi to plan for that and to be able to eat with the students. And that's always fun as well. That's
fun. So being so busy, tell us a little bit about like what your week non-negotiable like routine things are, just to keep, because you're busy with school, then you have family things coming up too, but how do you preserve Stefani time, and what does that look like?
So that goes back to the work-life integration and making sure that I can be in the right headspace to do some of the hard things. And you know how scheduled I am, just scheduling me to be here today.
Natalie's wonderful.
Yeah, Natalie does a great job.
She is amazing. She runs my life and personal life too. And so that's part of it. Is it's really hard for me to ask her to make a hair appointment for me. And she's like, no, because you'll just mess it up.
I have created this beautiful masterpiece of your schedule.
Yes, and she calls it calendar Tetris. And so
it's funny, we just used that term today about Steve. So.
Tetris. But she knows what she's working on. So if I make a hair appointment for, let's just say 10 o'clock on Friday, and she's talked to 2 people, I have an opening at 10 o'clock on Friday, I mess it up. So it's been a lot for me to give that up, but that's part of the Stefani time and making sure my head is in the right place. A mentor told me a long time ago that it's really important to delegate in leadership positions as much as possible, because you shouldn't be taking time to do that. And what really appealed to me is you're taking away work from somebody else. That's what they're there to do. So let them do their work. Whoa, that's pretty powerful.
That's huge.
Powerful.
Coming from a farm kid who is
used to doing everything,
used to shoveling manure and driving truck and getting up to calve or whatever you need to do. It was really hard for me to do that, but it has been a gift because I don't have to think about those kind of things. I don't have to worry. I can set out the vision and the values that I expect, and then people are able to help me with all of that. And so that saves energy. I'm masterful at my time management with the help of Natalie, but energy management was something I really, really had to learn. And as I get older, so I'm 55 now, I've almost been a president or a chancellor for 20 years.
Wow.
I've had to learn to manage my energy. And as I get older, I can't do what I did when I was 37. And so I really have to make sure to be physically active. If I am just sitting all the time, I can't do it. But because I'm a little bit of an adrenaline junkie, physically active can't use up all my energy. So I have to be really careful. And I found, I was a weekend warrior for the longest time, and I would use all my energy. And it's like, oh, Stefani, you can't go all out every single weekend because you have to rest. And so I have had to discipline myself to rest and to do yoga and to do nothing on some Sundays. I really preserve Sunday as a family day. There's various events that happen on weekends, and I don't want to miss them. Graduation's on a Saturday. I'm not going to miss Saturday of graduation. The powwow.
It's once a year.
Right.
Yeah.
It's once a year. The powwow is on a Saturday. Basketball games are sometimes Thursdays, but sometimes Fridays and Saturdays. And so I have to balance. And the other thing, because I love students and I want to go to everything, and I have a little FOMO. I don't want to miss out on anything, but I have to discipline myself, and I have to schedule family time as rigorously as I schedule work time. And I just have to tell people no. But I'm worried. I've had to tell people no because I've had 2 kids my whole time I've been in these roles. My youngest son graduates and is going to be at college, and Natalie and I were just talking that I'm going to have to figure out what new boundaries look like, because those conflicts were on the calendar.
Yeah.
My kids' concerts, my kids' hockey games, they were on the calendar. I didn't have a choice. But now I'm going to have to make time for my husband and be deliberate and intentional about not working all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you need fun date night ideas, I think if you go to Better Off in Billings, they have some guides.
So that's great. We were talking
do.
about eating,
it's like
eating
we actually
out.
do have one. Yeah.
And walkers is always fun. And now I
love
heard
walkers.
That
He bought
Nick
in.
and his partnership have been 119, so I'm excited about trying that.
Oh, me too.
Yeah.
You know what's a fun one if you're a wino, if you like wine, which yes. Okay.
Yes.
I just didn't want to keep telling you. If you're like, I actually don't like wine, that's irrelevant. City Vineyard. So we finally just got in, and you have to be like quick and see it on their Instagram, which you're active on, which is fun. Their wine, we did a France wine tasting event.
Nice.
If your husband likes wine, it was so much fun. And it's like a little fun date night thing to
The deviled
do.
eggs
They
are
only do
also
it
delicious.
quarterly, but anyways.
Well, and so I've never
There's
been
like-
there. That is on
Oh, I
my,
love City
that is
Vineyard.
on my
Oh, it's
list.
great.
And all the fun breakfast places.
Yes.
The local and
Sophie's
some-
Kitchen.
Sophie's. And so
Sassy.
those are things that I'm looking forward to. rather than eating in the car on the way to, whatever
wherever you're
events
going for the sports.
My kids have. So that's exciting part about being an empty nester and getting to explore Billings a little bit more in a different capacity.
Yeah. Like as a tourist, I think Visit Billings always talks about, which I'm sure you've heard, but being a tourist in your own city. And I think getting to do some of those things and your kids coming home to do some of those things with you will be a lot of fun.
It'll be really fun to rediscover Billings as an empty nester with my husband.
Yes.
That's so fun.
So I have to ask this question because Marcel has mentioned it to me. Lipstick and a piece of gum make all the difference. You've got to share. Tell our listeners, what
does that mean?
So there was a high school student who was doing her senior project on female leadership, and she did this podcast, which was just fantastic. And she invited me to come to her presentation at the end of her senior year, which was so much fun. And she was asking me about just being a female leader and what that meant. And I said, you have to put on lipstick before you go to Rotary. And she laughed and she loved that. She said, I'm really into makeup, and so I love that. But I actually had a mentor, and she was taking me to Rotary to just see what she did as a president. I shadowed her a lot, and she was putting on lipstick before you eat lunch. Okay, I get it. I'm not real big into the makeup thing, but you put on lipstick after you eat, right? Why do you put it on before you go to lunch? And she said, you need to present yourself as a president always, and especially as a female leader, you always want to look your best. Now, I think you have to look authentic too, and not worry so much about makeup that it you spend more time doing that than you do interacting with people and relationships. But you feel better when you are dressed comfortably and your makeup is on, and so lipstick becomes the metaphor for that. Put on lipstick. That's going to be the name of my book when I write it. Put on lipstick before you go to Rotary and other leadership lessons. But then the gum, a good night's sleep and a piece of gum solve everything. And when I am tired and crabby, and I don't get crabby very often, so I realize, okay, I'm tired, or I need a piece of gum. And there's something about peppermint and mint that gives you energy and all that kind of stuff. So there's some science behind it. But I also think it's about not having bad breath, how you present yourself, and just feeling good about that gum. But a good night's sleep works really well. So lipstick, a piece of gum, and a good night's sleep solve all the problems in the world.
And I think the sleep one is
World
so true.
Peace.
World Peace by Stefani Hicswa.
Lipstick, gum, sleep. Well, thank you so much for being here with us today. We like to end each episode with a few rapid fire questions. So before we do that, we'll just hear a quick message from one of our sponsors.
Thank you to the Small Business Development Center for sponsoring The Vault at 201 North Broadway. The Small Business Development Center offers free personalized support from business plans to financial projections and beyond, empowering small businesses to thrive. Reach out to us at bigsky.economicdevelopment.org.
Well, thanks for being here with us today. We're going to start our questions off with, what are your red flags?
My red flags are when I'm crabby, when I have a headache. I know I need to drink water. When I'm crabby, I know I need to have sleep. When people aren't trustworthy, and when people aren't authentic.
I really like those. I think the first ones are a really good on self-awareness and reflection, which I think are huge for leadership.
I like to add things in based on our conversation. And so my thing is, what is your favorite thing to bake or cook for your family?
Sourdough bread.
Sourdough bread? Just regular, regular crispy country loaf, or?
Yes, I have an artisan recipe, so sourdough bread. And then my sons are really into burrito bowls right now. And
fun.
So that has become a favorite. And Korean bibimbap, which is like a burrito bowl with a Korean.
Have you done egg roll in a bowl?
I've done egg roll in a bowl.
So good.
You guys, I'm missing out.
I did that this past weekend, actually.
So good.
You buy a bag of cabbage with carrots in it, cook it with whatever meat you want, and soy sauce and sesame oil.
Oh, I could do that.
And
Super
sesame
easy.
seeds. Easy.
Yeah, okay. Now I'm starving.
So good.
Last question. What's your advice for maintaining quality friendships when you're a busy person?
You have to make time. Busy people make time for the things that are priorities, and you schedule it. You're not just going to have some evening. Call me some evening when you want to go out, and have dinner. That's never going to happen. You schedule it. And my close friend that I was telling you about, we schedule it every week, and most of the time we make it happen, and it just has to become a priority. And then I also text and message on Instagram and send, memes and those kind of things. I don't always have time to have a long conversation, but hey, I was thinking about you, Easter Bunny, and little fun things for St. Patrick's Day. So yeah, take time.
So I'm just going to add one more. Where do you guys like to go to lunch?
We try to go to a different place every week
Fun.
as much as possible. Yeah.
Ooh, good one.
Well, thank you.
That.
Yeah.
Rotate.
Where can people find you? How can they connect with you?
So it's really easy if you go on the MSU Billings website and just put in Chancellor in the search, and my Chancellor's page comes up, and Chancellor at msubillings.edu.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Stephanie. This has been so great. Thanks for joining us on The Vault.
Thank you so much for having me today.
We hope you enjoyed this episode.
Make sure you are subscribed to The Vault at 201 North Broadway, wherever you podcast, including YouTube.
Connect with us on Facebook at The Vault at 201 North Broadway and Instagram at TheVault_201.
Don't forget to visit us at thevault at 201.com and subscribe to our newsletter.
We will see you next time.
Bye.